What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy,
And I'm your host, Konu.
and we are ready to get into episode 11. But really quickly, go ahead and do us a favor and follow all of our Dodger Yard socials so you guys can keep up with everything. Instagram, Twitter, at Dodger Yard, Facebook, Dodger Yard 2019, and on YouTube, we also have. You can listen to the podcast, watch some videos on how to scorekeep, and that's just under Dodger Yard. You can find all of my personal social media at Randy_Radcliffe.
And you can find my personal social media at Michael Konu.
And thank you again to all of those of you who keep leaving reviews and subscribing to the podcast. It means a bunch to us. So if you guys could keep doing that, we'd appreciate it. With that said, today's episode, we're going to get into pretty much everything that's going on the last week. The schedule came out, what we can expect to see over the stadium, guys showing up, who's opting out, all of that good stuff. It finally feels like we're talking about baseball stuff, so I'm super happy about that. Of course, we still have to talk about coronavirus, but for the most part, we actually get to talk about baseball and seeing guys on the field, so I'm excited for that. With that said, you want to take us into the schedule and let us know the big games that we have going on this year?
Okay, so the Dodgers will play exhibition games starting July 19th to the 21st. They'll play the Diamondbacks for 2 games, and then they'll play the Angels. And then we'll have opening day July 23rd at 7 o'clock. The Dodgers will begin a 4-game series against the Giants. And then immediately after that, they will be traveling to Houston to face the Astros. And also, the Astros will visit Dodger Stadium September 12th and the 13th. So, it seems like we're getting the Dodgers and Astros pretty early. If they were going to do that, they might as well have just made that the opening series and give them the Fox and ESPN slots. I feel like that would have been much better viewer ratings-wise than the Giants series. So, what did you think of the scheduling?
I agree with what you're saying rating wise. I think it would have been a lot better because when it really comes down to it, like, the Giants are ass, and that's not just me speaking as a Dodger fan. Like, that's just it's factual. I mean, they don't even know if Posey's going to play this year, which I wouldn't blame him if he doesn't, but the fact that we have 3 nationally televised games, I'm not complaining because I want our fan base to see it, but 3 nationally televised games against the Giants in our first 4 games is pretty wild. I think the Astros would have been better. However, the one thing that I like about not facing the Astros right at the beginning would be how good they would have been. Or not how good they would have been, but like I want our guys to kind of get back into the groove before we face them because they're a good team. Yes, they cheated, but they still have guys that can play. And I feel like for us, it's going to be, for our guys, there's going to be much more emotion to it. So I kind of want them to get into the groove a little bit more before they face them and get themselves ready to go. I don't think they'll have any problems. They're professional athletes. They're not going to get it. It's not going to get to their heads, but it is a little bit of a different kind of series than we're used to. So either way, I'm just glad we get to play them. We weren't supposed to this year, and it's funny how all that worked out, that at the end of the day, all the cheating scandal we found out this year, and now we get to play them. So I'm looking forward to it.
Regarding the Astros, they're going to be very solid, but I mean, because they still have Verlander, but they did lose Garrett Cole.
Yep.
And the previous year, they did lose, I'm blanking on his name. He signed with the Rays. I forgot his name. He came up
Morton.
big in Game 7, though. Yeah.
Was it Morton?
Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
That's his name, yeah. They did lose Charlie Morton as well,
And
so
they
I'm
lost
not 100% sure on the pitching
was it McHugh
rotation.
they lost?
To injury?
No, like on the... I thought Colin McHugh. I don't know. He might be from... I don't know. Anyways, ignore what I said.
So I think I'm just going to jump into the PECOTA projections because PECOTA has the Dodgers at 38 wins. I don't have the Dodgers at 38 wins. I'm not 100% sure where I have them. Maybe somewhere between 30 and 35. I think their schedule is more difficult than people are saying. I think a lot of teams have improved. Now, the Dodgers are still the superior team, but these games aren't easy wins anymore. And the Dodgers are also notorious for starting off slow. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. Like, I think their September schedule is tough. They face Arizona quite a bit. the Astros, the Padres, the A's, and the Angels. And the Angels always seem to play the Dodgers really tough. Also, one thing I saw this graphic saying that the Dodgers have one of the easiest schedules in baseball, but I think there needs to be context in these graphics because the Padres and Diamondbacks are improved teams. Uh, as I mentioned, the Angels have always played the Dodgers tough. Plus, they added Rendon, and they have a possibility of having Ohtani healthy in the starting rotation for most of the year. The A's are good. The Astros should be good. The Rangers have a solid rotation and some sneaky talent. So the only really easy games are the Mariners and Giants. But despite all that, how do you see the Dodgers doing this year?
I see him doing pretty well. I agree with you though that I think there's not enough context because what Fox, I think it was Fox that put that graphic out, left out I mean they didn't leave it out, but it's based off their 2019 win projection.
Right.
And the Dodgers didn't play any of these AL West teams except for the Angels. So it's not like these projections are coming off of like these same exact teams. Like last year we played the AL East, which yes, they were good. We played Boston, we played the Rays, we played the Yankees, but it's still different. Yeah, it's still different. It's different teams. I personally always seem to go a little bit higher. I remember last year going into the season, people were freaking out saying the Dodgers wouldn't win 90 games, and I had them about 95, 98, and I was still off by 10 wins. Um, without Price, I mean, we have the depth. I don't know. I'm going to say somewhere between probably 36 and 39 games. I think it's hard because you don't know what's going to happen. It's not just based off injury anymore. It's now coronavirus that you have to worry about. So it's not like you can look at a player and go, oh, well, he's always healthy. He doesn't have an injury history, because that really, it matters. But coming into this season, like, you're not just having to worry about that. So I think it complicates it. I still think, obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased, but even if I try to put my bias aside, rotation, all of that good stuff, I still have to put the Dodgers as the best team in the West. I cannot actually sit here. I'm frustrated that the Astros get so high in the power rankings when it comes out that they cheated, because it's like, how do we really know who this team is if they cheated in 17, 18, like what was going on in 19? They also had Garrett Cole in 2019. Like, it just, I don't know. I still, though I'm going to put the Dodgers ahead of it, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited, but I'm very bummed we don't get to be there. But good news is, unless they switch the schedule because we didn't get to play the Central this year, the Dodgers are supposed to be playing the AL West next year. So everybody wear your damn mask and use hand sanitizer so we can go back to baseball games next year. Because at the rate we are moving, we're not even going to be allowed to go into Dodger Stadium by March of next year. So let's get it together, because we need to be there to support our guys and go to Houston next year, because that's what the schedule should be, is Dodgers going to Houston for a series next season. So we need to make that happen.
Also, I was going to add that I think the Dodgers obviously have the upside to win probably 40 games if they do not start out slow. Because if they're focused and they start out pretty hot out the gate, then I can see them definitely winning 38 to 40 games. Also, I'm kind of hoping AJ Pollock plays, because I think this is perfect for him. It's only 60 games, and he usually has like a really nice long hot streak. This could help prevent injuries as well, so that would definitely help the Dodgers move up in the standings a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see who opts out, who doesn't. You make a good point though about Pollock, because he's one of those guys that is injured a lot, but he did have a nice, especially when he opened that season, that first week against the Diamondbacks, like he was just on fire. I honestly think he's better than the guy we got last year. I just think the injury totally screwed him up and threw him off when he was doing well. And I just think he's a platoon guy. I don't think he's someone we need out there facing righties. So I think it could be a good season for him to kind of get in there, feel good, but not overdo it on his body after everything he went through last season. So we will see what happens there. Though, back to talking about going to the stadiums and being there to support the teams. It came out last week. There was a video, I'm not sure if you saw it, but Turner posted a video on his Instagram last week during BP, and they were testing out the stadium crowd noise, pumping the noise in. Caston told reporters last week that they expect to pump crowd noise into the stadiums and that he actually believes every team will be doing this. And it sounds like their biggest concern is because of TV. My guess is it's also a way to protect the players, let them be themselves and talk and not have to worry about hot mics picking up every single thing they say. I am personally for it. I like the idea of an empty stadium because we hear everything. However, my concern is I wonder if that gets to the players. If it being that silent, if it's not going to be silent, like, or if they're not going to pump crowd noise, like music, something. I can't imagine being like Justin Turner coming up in, let's say, the bottom of the ninth with the tying run on second base, and it's just dead silent. Like, there's nothing. There's no adrenaline. There's nothing. I don't know. That's how I feel. I know you have different thoughts on it. So if you want to let me know what you think.
Yes, so from like a TV standpoint, I do get them wanting to pump in crowd noise. I'm assuming it's probably more entertaining for the viewers at home. It makes it seem like it's more realistic in a sense. I'm not a big fan of it. Personally, I would prefer the organic sounds of the game. It makes me feel like I'm actually at the game, getting the organic feel of the crack of the bat or the pop of the glove. Being able to hear players yell would also be fun, but I can understand why they would need to pump in crowd noise for that, because players will say some things that is not good for TV. So, like, I totally get that. But just for me personally, I like the organic feel of the game. There were some some spring training games I watched where there wasn't any announcers. So it was just they just had the game sounds, and it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I could see that, and I would enjoy that too. I think I'd be more fine if there was a way for them to track those sounds and find a way to maybe keep players out of it, like in the dugout, keep those things quiet, because I think that's where maybe that's where players need their privacy a little bit more. You don't really ever hear anything coming from the
Right.
dugouts,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind like mics being set up in the outfield, like if you're hearing like Bellinger in center field or whatever telling Mookie like, hey, push that way, or like whatever it is they're telling each other, move around, they're yelling at each other through the shift, stuff like that I would like. But again, it also comes down to I worry about the animosity that would happen, because I'm sure these players are talking shit the entire time, and the last thing you need is for someone to say something and some pitcher on another team to hear it and then go throw at a guy's ribs because he's pissed off and having a bad game or whatever the case may be. But I would love to hear the sounds. At the end of the day, it's going to all I care about is I think the players need to do what is best for them, and that's all I want, because I want us to do well, even though it's a 60-game season. I want to go out there and see our guys do well. So that's where I'm at with it.
The NBA does some things, like they'll have a broadcast where the announcers won't say anything, and they'll just have the natural game sounds. But during basketball games, they play a lot of music frequently throughout the game. So maybe baseball could do something like that.
It'd be cool if baseball had told the players ahead of time, like they can still do it, but like maybe one inning a game. Like, hey, we're going to do it in the first 4 or 5 innings before intensity builds up. Tell the players like, hey, the third inning, both sides, there's not going to be any broadcasters. We're just going to let the fans listen in to the sounds of the games. Something like that I would be more for, because it's not the entire game, and the players, like, it's maybe 30 minutes out of their night that they just have to chill out on what they're saying. And again, I've seen reporters talk about it. If a player really slips up and says something, I'm pretty sure any kids out there are hearing way worse stuff on social media, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. So if Walker Buehler's dropping an F-bomb, I guarantee every kid that's watching has probably heard it elsewhere. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I don't think baseball will care. But
also, I have a quick question. I'm not 100% sure, but there is like a 10-second delay, right? So is there any way they can edit it out real fast, or?
I think it's about 8. It's a 8 to 10 second delay, which that had to happen because of cheating. They didn't want people reading it. And I would think maybe they could edit it out. And I forget who said it. I think it was Kershaw, but he made a good point that like you have to be careful with that. it might not have been Kershaw, whoever it was, like you have to really trust the person who's running that they're going to know to mute out the right things. Like you have to have so much trust in that person that they're not accidentally releasing like any type of in-game stuff that you don't want the other team to know about, anything like that. So I think that's where that fear comes from, is that it would just be a huge, huge, huge trust thing that you just have to hope they don't accidentally miss anything that could get the players in trouble or give out any stuff for the game that shouldn't be given out. But
yeah, that makes sense.
It's a good test season. I think MLB should try everything. I think they should mic players up. They don't even have to show it if they don't want to. If they do decide to do it, let the players know, like, hey, this half inning, we're not going to be able to do much editing. We're going to put you live. Again, if a player slips up, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's a weird season. It's a weird year. Things should be different. And I think fans would be okay with that kind of different. Because it's not really altering the game. It's just a little bit of a different experience on our end. But
it's experimental,
Yeah. With that said, since we are talking about crowd noise, last week, Stan Kasten spoke about whether or not fans would be able to attend games. And it sounds like that just won't be happening this season. They say they're looking at various scenarios, and it's all going to depend on how things are going. But he said, I don't really see anything changing. We've heard about other stadiums talking about bringing back fans. Quite frankly, I really, really do not think I would go to a game if they opened it back up this year. Even with my season tickets, as badly as I want to go, it's not that I don't trust myself. I just don't trust other people. So even if they did,
I don't think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, even if they did open back up, I just don't, especially with it being a 60-game season, like it's not your normal 162-game season. Like I don't know. I can't risk it for that. And not to mention, it's not just myself I'm putting at risk. It's me potentially putting anybody at risk. Like this whole let's open up stadium things is actually incredibly stupid, because you're not just putting risk on the people that are going. If any one of those people contracts it, you now are potentially opening back up to a giant spread. So...
did you hear about the Texas Rangers during the intrasquad game having a stadium tour going on?
No, I didn't. That's idiotic.
Oh, so yeah, it's really... So there was... they had a stadium tour for whatever reason for fans, and somebody hit a home run, and the place went crazy, or whatever the case may be, but that seems risky, especially in a hot spot like Texas. I'm not... Sure,
I'd be pissed off if I was the players. I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you're already
right,
putting us in
you're risking
like,
the players, yes.
Yeah, and those tours cost like $20 to get like 20 people in. I'd be like, screw it. You know what? Here's your $400. Get these fans the hell out of here. Like, no, this is stupid. I don't know. Texas, I don't think is... No one ever talks about them doing anything all that intelligent there, so it doesn't surprise me. But, also, in the past couple days, now we're start getting into the actual fun stuff. Baseball, I guess this isn't very fun, actually, but the actual baseball stuff. On Saturday, Price announced that he would be opting out of the 2020 season. He said he decided it's what's best for him and his family and their health. The entire team has stuck beside him. The Dodgers have come out with a statement saying that they stand behind him. They're okay with it. They think he should do whatever's best with for his family, and that's absolutely how it should be. I'm bummed out. I was really excited to see him out there, especially after everything that he did for the minor leaguers. I was becoming a very big fan of him. So I am bummed out there. And then, of course, from the baseball side of things, he was going to be, I believe it was our number 3 guy, I think, in the rotation. So now they have to look for a new fifth starter, and they don't really know who that's going to be. Right, as of now, Stripling and May, both of their names have floated around as being the potential 5th man. Nothing's been confirmed yet. Friedman has brought up Stripling could do it. Friedman has also brought up May could do it. So really, we have no information. Classic Friedman, doesn't surprise me at all. However, looking back now with that trade with the Angels, that Artie Moreno somehow totally screwed that up for his own team because he's impatient. That is a huge blessing for us, because had we traded away Stripling and then Price goes and opts out, that could be rough. Also, not losing Jock, because you don't know what's going to happen with other players. If any other players are going to get sick, you don't know if Pollock is showing up. So, and we're going to have a DH. Like, if we're looking back, had we gone through with that trade, it would not be looking very good for the Dodgers right about now. They'd still be fine because they have that depth, but I feel much better knowing that we still have Stripling and Jock to work with, instead of just having more minor leaguers stacked up from that trade. So with that said, I was curious, if it was up to you, who's taking that fifth rotation spot?
Okay, so I have mentioned that Dustin May, if they went to a six-man rotation, Dustin May should get that spot. So I'm just going to add him into the rotation.
Okay.
I had some thoughts about Stripling and May a little later on, but yeah, I think I would go May. I think he just provides more upside, and I like Stripling in the position he's in now, being a long reliever or a spot starter. I think that's more where I like him. Now he was a former All-Star, but I feel like he loses gas at a certain point. So maybe he's in better shape and he's built for the long haul. But I just prefer him in that bullpen situation.
Yeah, I don't know quite where I'm at. With Price being out and having to look for a fifth rotation spot, I almost don't know if I want a set guy. Like, I don't know if I want to fully commit to May or Stripling or even, let's say, like Gonsolin. But again, I'm not totally sure. But I'm kind of there with you. I think my excitement wants May to be up. However, I remember last year he could never get past, I think it was the fifth or sixth inning without struggling. Yeah. And they do have to get him out there, so it's kind of a shitty situation. Like, I feel like he would have started this year in AAA and probably been called up after a few weeks or a month or so, and I feel like that might be all he needs. But in a 60-game season, you can't really throw him out there for 3 or 4 games and say, hey, get your groove. You kind of need someone who's going to jump in there and be good, ready to go. So one thing I had brought up on Twitter, and is actually pretty decent idea, would possibly be stacking 2 starters, like having May go out there, especially at the beginning when guys aren't fully built up, having May go out there and throw 4 or 5 innings and then have Stripling follow up with 3 or 4 innings or whatever the case may be, 3 for May, 3 for Stripling, and then go to the bullpen. But I don't know. I'll be happy with anyone. I do think it's going to end up Stripling or May. I don't think it'll go anywhere else. So that one will be interesting.
That's actually a interesting idea. I didn't think about that. That might work. But for me personally, I just think you should. I know, like, fans, they want to win, but for me, this is just like an odd season. So I think this would be like a good chance to see where Dustin May has improved and how he would look long term in that position. And I just think it's better to see how, like, the younger players can handle things with how the season is, instead of rehashing what we know some players actually are. Just try to build and see what somebody could be.
Yeah, and I agree. I just, from everything that I've seen Dodger players say, they are not viewing the season like that. To them, it's all about winning.
Absolutely, yeah, I get that.
So I agree with you. I don't think you're wrong, but just based on how I think what'll actually happen, I just don't know if they will give May. But I won't be upset. If he gets that spot, I'm going to trust him. I like May. I enjoy watching him. If Stripling gets it, same thing. I'll trust him. If a dark horse comes out and ends up taking that spot, who knows who it could be. We'll see what happens. But it's interesting, and I'm bummed that David Price will not be playing, but we all knew coming into the season, players have to do what's best for their family, so that's really all that matters. We still have players, though, who haven't shown up to camp just yet. So it does kind of not work out so great right now, because these are all guys we kind of need. Guys that have not shown up yet for various reasons. Roberts is not allowed to tell us why, which means there is no confirmation, but the assumption between fan bases and reporters for the season is if they don't tell you what's wrong with a player, there's the automatic assumption that they're COVID positive, whatever the case may be. So with that said, Kenley Jansen, Pedro Baez, Scott Alexander, Kyber Ruiz, Tony Gonsolin, AJ Pollock, and Gavin Lux have all not shown up to camp yet. And then obviously David Price is opting out. And then Jimmy Nelson is not showing up due to injury. So those guys are not there yet. They're all huge pieces. Roberts expects for them to be there very soon. I'm really hoping they're there in the next week. with that said, we do have a couple injuries. So do you want to go ahead and let people know
Yeah.
who's injured and what's
Just
going
real
on there?
quick before I get into the injuries, I wanted to say, have you seen Blake Trinan? Because I haven't seen him.
Yes.
Oh, you
I
have. Okay.
saw, yeah, on Getty Images, I saw a picture
Okay.
just of his back. I didn't see him playing, but I did see his name on a jersey.
Okay.
He had a mask on. Yeah.
Because yeah, everybody was talking about all these players, and I was like, I haven't seen or heard anything about
Yeah.
Blake,
I
so I'm glad
don't
he's
know if
there.
he's thrown. I haven't seen one picture, anything of him like actually throwing a baseball. I think I was going through Getty Images and there were a few players like standing in a circle and I saw
Okay.
his name.
Okay. And also another thing real fast. It's really unfortunate that these players aren't there. Of course, like you mentioned, there's going to be speculation about what's going on. I just hope that these players are safe and healthy and are ready to go whenever they are able to. I was really excited for like Tony Gonsolin and Gavin Lux, and them not reporting for whatever the reason is definitely a setback. For me personally, Gonsolin was definitely going to be in the pen at least to start the season. There was a chance he might have gotten a start. I think Lux was on his way to being the starting second baseman, so it's very unfortunate for them. Jansen looked really good this spring. Like it kind of felt like he was bouncing back after two really rough years. Baez is obviously a big bullpen piece. I think Alexander was considered to be a big part of the pen. So the pen has definitely taken some hits thus far. And like you mentioned, there is some injuries. Jimmy Nelson is out for the year after back surgery. Max Muncy is day to day after being hit with the ball. Cody Thomas, just earlier today, Cody Thomas, Edwin, I'm not sure how to say his last name, Usita, and Zach Rex have also been placed on the injury list. Now, we're not sure what the injury is, so you guys can speculate all you want on that.
Yeah, I know I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't plan on interrupting, but I was looking at the tweet. It was Eric, I believe it was Eric Steven who put the tweet out that I got this from. I was interested in that because Edwin, like you said, obviously his name, Usita,
Yeah.
He's been posting on Instagram that he's been hanging out in LA and he's been posting like in the car, like driving to the stadium and stuff like that. I know they have a COVID IL. I don't know if teams are actually going to use it if players don't want that information out there. But I have seen video literally in the last 24 hours of him taking like pictures in LA and he looks okay. He could be asymptomatic if it is COVID. I don't know about Thomas and Rex, but I have seen Edwin out there. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any of those players, so I was kind of shocked not to see Cody Thomas, but now it all kind of makes sense. But I was going to say this really sucks for Jimmy Nelson because I thought this signing had potential to be like a low risk, high reward type of signing. You know, those are the kind of deals Andrew Friedman loves to do. Uh, Unfortunately, he just couldn't get healthy. He kind of is now in that Tom Kohler category, where like the Dodgers took a flyer on the guy, and he doesn't end up pitching. I I do think I heard that the Dodgers have an option for Jimmy Nelson next year, so that'll be interesting to see if they bring him back to give him another chance or just let him walk. I think they might as well bring him back and hope he can provide next year what they were hoping he would do this year. It doesn't sound like the team is too concerned with Max Muncy being day to day, so that's good. Just kind of like a precautionary thing. I was really looking forward to seeing Cody Thomas hit some bombs this camp, though, so that really sucks for me. Because in spring training, he was mashing them.
Yeah, I don't want to say I hope like it's not an injury. I hope it's corona because corona's awful too and it could do long-term damage. I just hope whatever it is they're dealing with is minor and it's not something that's going to hold them off for very long.
Right. Okay, so the Dodgers have added some players to their player pool. That includes recently signed Clayton Beeter, closer AJ Ramos, and Devin Mann, who's a top 25 prospect. So, like, I was glad to see Beeter immediately after signing that he was added to the roster. He was a bullpen piece prior to this year, so using him in that role if necessary until next year could be beneficial, especially since he's a hard thrower and has, like, that nasty curveball. Now, I doubt he'll see any major league games, but him getting some work obviously doesn't hurt him at all. AJ Ramos fits into that what I just talked about with Andrew Friedman, that low risk, high reward signing. He had 3 really good years with the Mets. I think he was an All-Star one time between 2014 and 2016. Since then, though, he has struggled with injuries, and when he has pitched, hasn't been good. But he's been posting videos on social media. He looks healthy. His pitches look really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's someone that we actually see in the bullpen this season. And as I mentioned, Devin Mann is a top 25 prospect in the organization. He's a 6'3" second baseman. He also plays third base, kind of like a utility man. He was scheduled to start the year in Tulsa, but since the minors are shut down, I'm glad he'll be getting some work with the player pools. And since he was added, I'm thinking the Dodgers are kind of high on him. He is already 23, but I do think he has skills that the Dodgers do like. And I've seen that Devin Mann's estimated major league call-up was supposed to be in 2021, which is next year. So he's very close to the major leagues. Whew. Okay.
I want to interrupt you really quickly since you're talking about player pool additions. There's nothing confirmed. However, Bobby Miller on his Instagram story an hour ago is at Dodger Stadium. So he's not officially on the player pool anywhere, but he flew into LA last night, according to his Instagram. And an hour ago, he posted a picture of him at the stadium. So we'll see what happens there.
Just to speculate, I'm assuming that means he's going to be added, because otherwise, why would you waste a flight? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
especially during
that
coronavirus.
will be good to see, because he was one of the ones I did want to see in the player pool. So I'm glad he's there. Also, if they could add Cody Hosey and Michael Busch, that would be great. Since you're adding Devin Mann, you might as well add some other people who are in their early 20s.
I'm wondering if they're holding off on adding people until they know which big league players aren't coming, because I'm guessing if you fill up to 60, you don't want to be like, oh, wait, well, Pollock's actually coming. Let me take this guy off the roster and send him back home, is my assumption. I don't have anything to back that, but my guess is that maybe we'll see like Hosey once we know, like, hey, this is our set. These are guys that are actually going to be here on the big league team. We don't have to worry about bringing a backup. Let's bring our extra, let's bring guys in for developmental work now.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they're already at 52, and like you mentioned, there's 7 players who haven't reported yet who are going to be on the big league roster. So yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we were talking about Beeter being added to the player pool. So Clayton Beeter and Jake Vogel signed with the Dodgers earlier this week. The Dodgers had till April 1st to sign these players, so I'm glad they have now signed their whole draft class. Just to go through with who these players are real fast. Clayton Beeter was drafted out of Texas Tech in the competitive balance round with the pick the Twins traded to the Dodgers in the Kenta Maeda-Brusdar Gratterall trade. Like I mentioned, Beeter was a reliever before this year. He moved into the rotation for the short time that there was a season. Now, before the draft, I was seeing a lot of people mocking Beeter to the Dodgers at 29. I also saw some other Dodger writers who were wanting him at 29, or who were fine with him at 29. So getting him at pick 66 instead was great value. I saw some scouts saying that Beeter has the best pure stuff in the draft, and that the Dodgers got an absolute steal. There is a lot of bullpen risk with him. But with the Dodgers player development staff being one of the best, it's hard not to get excited about the possibility of Beeter in the rotation at some point. Beeter has had Tommy John surgery in the past, but of course that doesn't seem to scare the Dodgers, because they are the team that drafted Walker Buehler after he had Tommy John surgery and caused him to miss the whole season. Beeter is a bit erratic, and it's because his mechanical issues, much like Bobby Miller. So the Dodgers are going to look to clean up his windup. And once they do that, he has the potential to be the best one out of this class. I think he has the most upside. Beeter throws very hard, and he likes to get his fastball up in the zone where batters will swing miss, or they'll pop it up. And he has a straight hammer of a curveball. I saw a few people say his curve can mirror another Dodger pitcher named Clayton. Let's pause on that. That's a big ask for Beeter. So I'm not sure about all that, but I'm definitely excited to see him pitch. And now that he's on the player pool, it should be fairly soon that we get to see him in some inter-squad games, maybe. Next up is hopefully. Next up is prep bat Jake Vogel, who was drafted out of Huntington Beach High School. Vogel is very toolsy, the best tool being his speed. In fact, when he was drafted, the head of Dodgers scouting said Vogel is already the fastest in the system. If not, he's top 3 easily. His speed and athleticism allow him to cover a lot of ground in center field, where he's a plus defender and should have no problem sticking, so he won't need to move to left field or right field. Vogel possesses a very strong arm. I think he's clocked as high as 97 miles per hour throwing to home. His weakest skill set as of right now is his power. However, he is able to hit the gaps, which should allow for a lot of triples with his speed. He's got really good barrel control. He gets to the zone pretty quickly and smoothly with his quick, fast hands. The Dodgers are hoping to adjust his load up, which should hopefully provide more power or unlock more power. And if that's the case, Billy Gasparino, who's the Dodgers head of scouting, said that Vogel could and should shoot up through the farm system really fast. He's still just a teen, but Gasparino seems to have been the most excited about him. Now, Jake likens his abilities to Mike Trout. Let's put a pause on that. I will admit I do like the confidence in him aiming high, because Mike Trout is one of the best players to ever play this game. But that's lofty expectations. So he's obviously confident in himself. I did see some scouts say that they compare Vogel to Billy Hamilton, but a Billy Hamilton who could actually hit. That comparison came because of the defense and the speed and him being of a smaller stature. I've also seen him compared to former Dodgers center fielder Brett Butler, which is interesting because I think you retweeted from the Dodger Yard account of Brett Butler robbing a home run. So you doing that and then me talking about a comparison to Brett Butler, I just thought that was kind of funny.
Was that today?
Yeah, that was today.
Yeah.
I saw some scouts compare him to Brett Butler, but with more power upside. Either way, the Dodgers are extremely high on Vogel. They see him as the top of the order hitter, whether it be in the 1 spot leading off or the 2 spot. And I'm very intrigued to track his process throughout the system in the coming years.
Yep, he'll be a lot of fun to watch. That confidence thing. I like the confidence. I prefer my confidence like that, though, in my pitchers more than my position players. Because position players, one guy really can't do it all, whereas a pitcher, it really is on your shoulders to kind of go out there. I respect it when Buehler does it. But there's I don't know. Hey, I like the confidence, but at 18 years old, Colin, 17, 18, whatever he is, already talking about Trout, you're gonna have Dodger fans holding on to that for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I
huge
hope
pressure on his shoulders. Yeah,
I hope he lives up to that expectation. But moving on Monday, we got a press conference from Mookie Betts. I'm not sure how everyone feels when I watch him do press conferences. I feel like he just hates being there. I think it's come out. I think I've seen Red Sox fans say it, that he's never liked the media, which makes me feel good because I was a little stressed. Like, oh man, is it like these LA reporters, whatever it is? But apparently that's just him. He answered a few questions, mostly about free agency and how he's feeling about this upcoming season. But when it came to free agency, Betts had said that was on the back burner for him right now. All of his focus is on the season, which I feel like that's literally what every player says, and that's what every player should say. Especially when you're new to the team, you don't want to come out and say that that's what you care about. It usually doesn't go over well with fans. Wasn't a fan of the other question by Dylan Hernandez. He asked him if he regrets turning down the Red Sox $300 million offer. Obviously, he said no. Does he mean it? Probably, because he knows he's worth more than $300 million. I just think that's an awful question to put a guy on the spot like that and ask him, because you really left it for him to say something that could piss off the entire Dodger fan base. So I'm glad Mookie didn't get sucked into that and answered it the way he did. However, he did speak about how he isn't very confident in how this season will play out, and he's not 100% sure if it's even going to be completed. But he is excited to get out there and play in a Dodger uniform. He has mentioned it before, the history, what it means. I mean, you're coming from Boston, a huge historical franchise, to LA. The really only next one in between would be the Yankees. So for him. He's excited. I'm excited to get out there. They, of course, spoke to him about his thoughts on how MLB handled their response to the Black Lives Matter movement. And, of course, Mookie Betts said, I think baseball did not do a good job with that. I agree. They did a horrible job with that. And they're kind of pushing it nonstop. And I respect it. I'm glad they're putting it in front of eyes. It's just a little frustrating because this is really where has it been until players started calling you out and telling you to do better. But Mookie did say that as a black athlete, he believes it is up to the individual black players to help get their black community more involved in baseball and make baseball fun and cool. He had said it's something that I think we talked about a few weeks ago because David Price said the same thing, that it's not viewed like NFL and NBA. There's not as much expression. You have the musical ties to NFL, NBA. You have, it's a different kind of sport where people look at baseball as boring. So I do get Betts' point. However, I don't think it should be strictly on the black community to get them more involved. I think baseball in general needs to do a better job of reaching different communities, not just the black community, literally every community besides just white people. So hopefully they do that, because last thing we need more guys out here playing. We need the energy. We need the fun. I absolutely love Tim Anderson because of his just personality, how much fun he has with the game, and he does not hold anything back. I love all of our guys. I just would like a little bit more excitement from them. Show a little bit more. Baseball's never really been a sport to do that, and I don't think it's because some players don't want to do that. It's just looked at negatively. So, either way, I think it's on baseball. They need to do better. But with that said, Betts spoke on David Price opting out and said that he agrees with David Price, said he supports him, said he completely understands. However, he did mention a point that David Price doesn't have to worry about free agency like Mookie has to. David Price signed that big contract. He's not having to give up this entire year to possibly worry about this big contract. Now, here's my thing, because I feel like a lot of fans might not know this. I want Mookie to opt out of the 2020 season, because if he opts out of the 2020 season and the season is not canceled by MLB, the Dodgers would get him for another year. If a player is not high risk and they choose to opt out, they do not get paid. They don't get paid, and they do not get service time. So if Mookie Betts, which he's not going to, I know he won't. He already said he's not going to because he knows what's on the line. But man, I would love to see Mookie opt out and call the 2020 just kind of a flush of a season, whatever, and have him for 162 games next year. But I don't think that'll happen. But with that said, that does mean David Price, a year will not come off of his contract. He is not considered high risk. It was his decision. So the Dodgers are not losing that year. A lot of people I keep seeing people saying it on Twitter, and I see reporters saying it too, and it's super frustrating. The Dodgers did not trade Verdugo, Downs, and Wong for 60 games of Mookie Betts. They did not do that. The Dodgers traded for an entire season of Mookie Betts, and a pandemic hit our country, the entire world, and it screwed things up, understandably so. It's frustrating seeing people word it that way. It's like, instead of looking at what it really is, I just hope that Dodger fans don't get sucked into that narrative, because that's not what happened. Unfortunately, had the pandemic hit like 3 weeks earlier, this trade probably never is made, because I think it was almost a month to the day that it happened. I think the trade happened on February 12th, and then on March 12th, the season ended. So you think, like, if it hits a month earlier, how different things could have been, maybe. And maybe they hold off and sign Mookie in free agency. Maybe they don't. Maybe they trade for him anyways, because we want that World Series championship. And at this point, I think Dodger fans are willing to trade anything if it means getting a World Series. So all I know is the Dodgers better back that truck up and give Mookie whatever he wants, because they gave up 3 very controllable players, 2 who have their full 6 years of service time. So I hope they pay him, because they gave up a lot to get him. And a lot in controllable years. Talent-wise, obviously, nobody they got rid of is better than Mookie. But, I'm going to be so angry if someone comes in and they outbid the Dodgers and the Dodgers are just like, sorry, we're not going to give you that extra 20-30 million because they need to at this point. Like, do whatever they can. Keep Mookie. If he brings us home a World Series championship, I won't feel as like, hey, get it done. But Dodgers, get it done. There's no excuse. We have given you guys so much money. Bring us Mookie Betts for like 8 to 10 more years, please. That's all we're really asking for. Updates.
So I wanted to say something real fast. You brought up a good point with Mookie Betts opting out. I know he said he's not going to, but it might be the smarter move to do if he opts out and then plays the next year in 2021. It will allow for money to accrue, for the baseball to accrue more money, so that way he's going to get paid what he's actually worth instead of a team just throwing out what he's kind of worth, because teams aren't going to throw out $300-400 million contracts because of the hit they're taking to their pockets. So I think that would be the smarter move. As far as the trade goes, I understand why people are upset. I think it was a move that had to be made. Yeah, they lost 3 controllable pieces, but was Connor Wong ever going to be right? A top 2, 3, 5 player in baseball? Was Connor Wong ever going to be something special, or was he just going to be a backup catcher? Was Jeter Downs? I'm big on Jeter Downs. I actually like Jeter Downs, so that was the one that hurt the most. I'm high on his bat. I know everybody else is higher on Verdugo. For me personally, he's hurt far too often for me to know exactly what he is. When he plays, he does some good things. But again, he's hurt most of the time. So that part, I was just kind of like, okay, like, that's fine. Now, if he's healthy the rest of the time, it's going to sting a little bit. But it's hard for me to say that when I don't know if he's injury prone or not. Is he AJ Pollock, or is he just a little rough patch that he's going through?
Yeah, and it's not even just that. Like, even if you let's pretend he's healthy his entire, like, with the Dodgers. Let's pretend he never got hurt and he gets traded away. We're still talking about Mookie Betts. Like, we don't know what Verdugo will be in 5 years because that's what's left on his contract. Like, we know what Mookie Betts is. Mookie Betts is going to be 28 in October. He's still in his prime and probably going to be there for a few more years. And the Dodgers have made it clear that they're in a win now mode, which I'm not going to say Verdugo couldn't have helped them do, but he's still young and he's still getting into himself as a player, that he's not going to make the immediate impact that Mookie Betts was going to make. So right. I understand the trade. I know where it came from. I understand fans' frustrations. I was right there too. A lot of people know I enjoyed watching Verdugo. I think what a lot of people are more upset for than anything isn't just his talent. I think it's just
the energy he brings.
The energy, but also the community that he kind of had with Dodger fans. When his walk-up song came on, like, I don't know if I heard Dodger Stadium ever get that loud, and I thought it was cool to see how much fans were into that with any player. I kind of feel like in comparison, I feel like it's the way you talk about supporting black players
that's fair.
Like, so that's what I felt like fans are missing more than anything is that. But I mean, it's Mookie Betts. So he's going to get out there and he's going to play. And I have a feeling if either we have 2 options, we win a World Series this year or Mookie Betts resigns, I have a feeling almost no Dodger fans are going to be complaining or bringing up Verdugo again. I think right now it's hard for fans because it was only 1 year of Mookie and no guarantee he's staying. But if he stays, I don't think Dodger fans are really going to be saying much about Verdugo anymore. It's going to be, you know what? We had fun watching him play, but we've got Mookie Betts for another 8 to 10 years. It is what it is. It's part of the sport. Let's go win some World Series. So it had to be done. It's one of those things that you look back and go, if the Dodgers won the World Series in 2017, does this trade happen? Maybe not, because there's not as much pressure. Maybe it still does happen. Who knows? Mookie's a hell of a player. I'm excited. I cannot wait to see him get out there and play. I hope that he gets his chance to go out there and play, because if MLB does cancel this season, then we do lose that service time and he'll never play a game in Dodger blue, and that's not going to be a good time. So with that said, Updates on players at summer camp. Don't have much. However, Dustin May has been focusing on his changeup and curveball. We haven't seen him, but he's worked on those pitches, throwing in a scrimmage on Sunday, and he also threw 3 innings in that scrimmage, and he expects to be built up to 5 innings by opening day. Says he's feeling great. So that's awesome. Goes back to what you said earlier about him. We need him to be ready to go, so I'm glad that he's been working on it, because if he does get that 5th spot, knowing that he can be built up by 5 innings by the 5th game of the season would be huge.
Right.
So
and
that's great.
Just a quick thing is that last year he struggled in the 5th, or I believe it's like the 5th inning. He started struggling.
Yeah.
But prior to that, he was really good those previous innings, and he really only used 2 pitches, which were his sinker and cutter. So if his changeup and curveball have developed as secondary pitches, it's only going to help him get deeper into games.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of it was he's still young and he's still building up that endurance and stamina to be out there. It's a totally different adrenaline rush from 55,000 people at Dodger Stadium to 10,000 at OKC, Tulsa, whatever the numbers are, 8,000. Your body exerts way more adrenaline, so there's a chance he was getting worn out quicker. So glad to see he's staying on it. Buehler is supposed to be facing hitters sometime this week. I'm hoping he's in the intra-squad game tonight that they're having, because that would be awesome to see. And he is traditionally a slow starter. I feel like we've gotten to know that. We saw last year he was a little bit slow with that back injury and then came out and was it his back? Or no,
yeah.
It was his arm. It was, him and Kershaw both, I just remember. But he came out, he was good, and he's, of course, not predicting on how built up he'll be by opening day, so we'll see. Hopefully we see him sometime this week. Love watching him pitch. Speaking about intra-squad game, Monday night we had seen Kershaw and Stripling on the mound facing one another, and then obviously the rest of the guys are split off into 2 teams, so it's just all Dodgers versus Dodgers. We got to see Betts versus Kershaw. Kershaw won the battle, striking out Mookie the first time out. Second time, I believe he hit a line drive to third base. Don't know if Turner was on the team or who was playing third. And then he walked his final at bat. So we went 0-2 with a walk against Kershaw Monday night. That's a lot of fun to see. You got 2 former MVPs up there battling it out. And then Kershaw had a pretty decent night. He had pitched 4 innings, 73 pitches, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, gave up 4 hits. However, those are his final numbers against the lineup of Betts, Kike, Bellinger, Seager, Smith, Rios, Rocky Gale, and then a bunch of people saw Chico, who's a clubhouse attendant. But a lineup of Betts, Kike, Bellinger, Seager, Smith, Rios alone, 4 innings, 4 hits. That's pretty solid. So
Bellinger had half of those.
Yeah, Bellinger, had 2 of the hits. So it's looking pretty good. I'm feeling good about watching Kershaw out there. He seems to be feeling good. Can never be upset about that. Something that I found pretty funny, that it wasn't live, but we saw all over Instagram and Twitter, was Jock crushed one off a stripling. It landed in right field pavilion, but the reason why I think it's funny is, for those that don't know the story, literally the pitch before Jock hit that out, Bellinger yelled from center field, "Easy out" at Jock. And so the next pitch, Jock just does his aggressive, like, murderous swing that he does. And as he was rounding and he pimped it so hard, like he pimped Stripling so hard when he did it, and it was just so funny. And as he's rounding second base, you can't hear him, but it was reported, I think, by Bill Plunkett, that he actually yelled at Cody. He said, "There you go, Bopper, go get it," because Cody yelled that he was an easy out. So I think that's been kind of the fun stuff about seeing, like, these intra-squad games and having empty stadiums, is you kind of hear how they mess with each other, which a lot of fans don't get to hear. Even if you show up to BP, you hear it a little bit, but usually the music's too loud. So I've enjoyed that. I know you watched a little bit from Monday's game. Did you see anything that kind of there was live BP too? So I think it was Urias and Gratterall we saw?
Who pitching? Yeah. So as far as the game goes, I only saw like a few highlights. Of course, Kershaw striking out Mookie Betts. I want to say I thought Ross Stripling looked pretty good. He got a lot of players to swing and miss. Will Smith did say that Stripling had been working on different grips for pitches. during the quarantine, and it seems like it has been working well from what I saw. One thing that I was really impressed with was Bellinger's. I think it was his first at bat against Kershaw. Kershaw had threw a slider on the outside corner, and it was nice to see Bellinger not pull off of it or swing through it like he usually does. He kind of just sat back and went with it like Derek Jeter kind of did, and just hit a double down the left field line. So I thought that was really nice to see. If he can continue to do that, then last year was not a fluke, and he's going to be great for years to come. As far as the batting practice goes, I was a little late to the stream, so the first pitch I actually saw was Urias throw a filthy changeup to Will Smith, and he had no chance at it. There was another sequence where Julio kind of jammed Will Smith, and he grounded off the third. Well, at least I think. I mean, I can only assume
it was
that
hard to tell because they only
yeah.
showed so much. Yeah.
Now Julio did groove some fastballs down the middle, and I believe Beatty and Smith absolutely crushed them. So, but for the most part, I feel like his changeup was really nasty. He did miss his spots a few times, but nothing too bad. As far as Gratterall goes, again, I'm not sure I don't know what he was working on, but every pitch just seemed like a fastball right down the middle. So he was getting hit. But I mean, so it's hard to say what he was supposed to do. Maybe he was supposed to just groove pitches so players can hit it. There wasn't at bat with Beatty. Beatty was late on all pitches, but he sat back a pitch on the outer half and barreled it up and smoked it into left field. I was impressed with DJ Peters at bats. He was able to stay back and balance on a Julio changeup, and he smoked it into left field. He was a little out in front of a Gratterall pitch, but he did enough to hit a solid single to center field. So DJ Peters is known to strike out a lot, and two pitchers who are seemingly kind of nasty, he was able to do his thing. But maybe he knew a pitch was coming, and that's what they were working on. But I was impressed to see him sit back and make solid contact. Luke Raley had really bad swings and misses, but he did have one at bat versus Julio where he sat on a curveball and he absolutely roped it to right. But yeah, that's pretty much all I saw from batting practice. Did you see anything or not really?
I don't see stuff like that as well. It's always been kind of one of my big downfalls as a fan. I'm horrible with pitch recognition. I can't break down swings. I will say though, Urias did look good. He looked like he slimmed down a little bit too from last year, which is good. So, because it seemed like as he would get deeper into games last year, you would see him kind of lose his command. You'd see him kind of get tired on the mound. So I did notice that. I did recognize, like, I don't know what pitches they were, but like you said, he was throwing some pretty nasty stuff, getting swings and misses. Gratterall, I only saw a couple, didn't see too much. But I feel like he was decent in spring training, did pretty well. So maybe they're just trying to get him on a mound because maybe like those guys wanted to face a hard thrower just to get their timing. And maybe they basically said like, hey, you're throwing live BP, just go out there and throw the ball. But like maybe they were just having him work on his mechanics and all that good stuff. So who knows? It was just, all I know is it was great to watch. That much was, I didn't even care. I literally didn't even care what was going on. It was just the fact I was watching baseball. I was happy.
Also, one thing that I saw that was pretty interesting is one at bat, I believe it was against Rayleigh. Julio did a Rich Hill style drop down pitch, which was very interesting to see. So I was like, oh, that's exciting. Yeah, because I think one year Kershaw had adopted it even. So Rich Hill not even on the Dodgers anymore, but still helping out,
impacting. Yeah, if he can work on different slot angles and all that good stuff, he's got the stuff to be good. He just has to, I think, clean some things up. He dealt with those injuries that threw him off. So we'll see. With that said, because I spoke about it really quickly, the Dodgers are having another intra-squad game tonight. You can actually watch it on Dodgers Twitter or their Facebook page, as well as Sportsnet LA with coverage beginning at 6:30. We don't know the lineups, don't know who's pitching. I'm hoping one of those is Buehler. Make sure you guys check that out. Also, last week we talked about how the All-Star game was going to be canceled. It is now official that the Dodgers have been awarded the 2022 All-Star game because it was canceled this year. The Braves already have it for 2021. I'm okay with that. things have not been going great. I don't want to waste our 2021 season 2 and have coronavirus still be around, and then that gets screwed up too. Plus, moving to All-Star games is more complicated than just saying, hey, Dodgers, we're going to push it back 2 years. We've waited 40. I think 2 more will be okay. If you did buy tickets, you can start requesting refunds. They started doing that on Monday, so reach out to your season ticket holder representative. I believe season ticket holders are the only ones who had access to tickets so far, maybe mini plan holders. So just reach out to your representative. Be patient. They're getting a bunch of emails, but they are giving out refunds for those. Now, last thing really for Dodger news was, we'll do this really quickly. Yesterday, Jock posted a picture in his blue summer camp, the uniforms they're wearing. So the blue jersey, white pants, and he asked if fans should add all blue uniforms to the Dodgers uniform rotation. When he said all blue, I'm assuming he just meant the blue top, white bottoms. Who knows? Maybe he really meant all blue. I posted a poll on Twitter from the Dodger Yard account asking people what they thought. We got 69% total Dodger fan base that said yes. 31% said no. I have always been anti-uniform change because I love the way the Dodgers look. However, my big thing with the Dodgers is the home jerseys. I do not want to see that switched. So if the Dodgers wanted to add the blue as like an alternate road jersey or wear them like every Sunday road game, I would be totally fine with that. Or if he meant all solid blue, I would also be fine with that. I know to a lot of people that doesn't sound great, but there was actually, I think it was the Dodger Hog or the real Dodger Hog actually posted pictures under our poll, and I retweeted them. You can see what the all blue ones look like. Something that most fans don't know is the Dodgers actually tried to do this a year or two ago. I saw it. I saw the actual uniform in one of the offices at Dodger Stadium, and it was literally solid Dodger blue, the top and the pants, and I loved it. I thought it looked really cool. I don't want that to be like a new thing that they take over, but again, an alternate or quite frankly, the solid blue would be a perfect Players Weekend jersey. My thoughts. So what do you on blue jerseys? Yes or no?
My initial reaction was hell no. I mean, they aren't bad. I think it might just be too much blue for my liking. And if it's solid all blue with blue pants as well, then definitely count me out. If it's a mix, then maybe. It's still too like spring training ish for me. Now what I can get behind is like if they wear their throwback jerseys from Brooklyn, like those old dingy white ones or the old dingy gray ones. I think those would be really dope.
What about the light blue ones?
Yeah,
I hate those.
I like light blue more as a color, but not a fan of it as a jersey.
Yeah.
I did think Matt Kemp looked good in it, but then again, I think Matt Kemp might look good in
everything.
everything. Yeah.
That doesn't. Yeah. Matt. Yeah. Everyone else did not look good in that. They all just looked like they were wearing baggy ass uniforms. Like you could put Matt Kemp in a trash bag and he'd find a way to look good. So that doesn't.
Yeah. Trust me, I've heard it from plenty of girlfriends, and so I
girlfriends. I'm sorry to do this, but hey. Even didn't you say your mom was a big Matt Kemp fan? I think all the moms are big Matt Kemp fans, to be honest. So
I was trying to leave my mom out of this, but
hey, it's not a bad thing. She's just means she's got good taste, so you can't be mad at her.
Well, I don't know about that one, but I'll leave that for another discussion. Sorry, Mom, don't kill me. Yeah. Back to the point. I guess Jock's jersey is fine in a pinch, but I'm not really a fan of it.
Yeah, I get it. That's how I was for the longest time. I'd be totally fine if it doesn't happen. If it did, it just better not take away from the home whites. And it just needs to be like maybe a once a month thing. I don't care to see it consistently. I think the Dodgers have built their entire franchise off tradition. It's like the Yankees. You don't really see the Yankees go out there and do that. You do see like the Red Sox and the Cubs, two more historical franchises. The Cubs have the solid blue, and the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox have solid red and a solid navy blue that they do. But other than that, the Dodgers and Yankees, they don't do that stuff. So I agree. I'm totally fine with them not doing it. Wouldn't mind it every once in a while, but overall it could stay out. Last thing for Dodgers news, I guess it's more MLB in general, but there are important dates to remember this year. Obviously, July 23rd and 24th is opening day. We have August 13th. It's Field of Dreams. I believe that was actually supposed to be the Yankees and White Sox. Due to Corona, they've unfortunately now have to keep it all in the Central, so it's the Cardinals versus White Sox. August 16th, they will be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues. August 28th, they will be celebrating Jackie Robinson Day this year. September 9th is Roberto Clemente Day, and then September 27th is the final day of the regular season. I am okay with all of this. I know that the date for Jackie Robinson Day is completely off. I'm curious as to why they chose the date they did. I don't know if there's any significance that I don't know about. But my thing with it is I feel like it has to be acknowledged, Jackie Robinson Day, in some extent. And I feel like because of coronavirus, they really didn't do anything for it in a good enough way. Obviously, I don't know how players actually feel, but I would imagine for a lot of the players, it's important for them to get out there, and it means a lot for them to wear that number 42 and represent that. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I know you have different thoughts on it. So if you want to go ahead and share those.
Right. So, as you said, it's on August 28th, which is my dad's birthday. So, I guess he has that to look forward to. This might seem like a bit of a hot take. I personally don't think it's necessary. Jackie Robinson Day is April 15th, not August 28th. So, to me, it serves no purpose other than for them to continue to do what they've always done, and that's pandering to the black communities that they won't even invest in and profiting off his name. Realistically, what else have they done? They make everybody wear 42 and they put out some social media posts. Great, cool. What else? How about they honor him by being proactive and with social justice issues like he would have been? How about helping get communities of color into the game? What the MLB has done is the bare minimum and more face value and surface level stuff than anything else. Now, I know I've seen the Players Union donate money and grants to Jackie's foundation. Has MLB done anything? Serious question. What have they done except profit off his name every year? They're always quick to bring up Jackie for everything like a Black History Month, but pretty quiet when it comes to important things like social justice issues. They put out this weak-ass statement about George Floyd, systemic racism, and social justice issues. But have they actively helped in any way, or is this just more lip service? If they want to honor Jackie appropriately, they should be on the front lines helping with what's going on. They should be opening doors for more managers, GMs, and owners of people of color. They are just as qualified as everyone else. They should be putting more money and resources into inner cities and neighborhoods so those kids who are struggling have another outlet in baseball to turn to. Thus, that will get more people of color involved in the sport of baseball, and it will truly make it more diverse. Now, I've had this issue with MLB for a while about the pandering, and just seeing them do it again, it just irritated me.
I get that. It's different. You're speaking from a different perspective. I'm speaking on it, obviously, from a very different perspective and from a baseball perspective. I agree with you 100% that they are awful about what they do in the community. I was very frustrated, and I remember specifically calling MLB out and saying you guys have no problem. Or actually, I don't think it was MLB. It was the Dodgers, I think. I called out for using Jackie Robinson's name and not doing more when the whole thing had happened and there was no statement. So that part I do understand. My perspective is more from just the sport in general. I think it's good for the sport, but obviously the sport isn't the only thing that matters. There's so much more to it than just the game of baseball. So I'd be interested to see what players have to say about that, how they feel. So hopefully when that time comes around, we'll hear it.
Now, I do agree with you. I think the players would want to wear that number because they do take pride in that, and that's fine. I completely get that. For me, it's more deeper than the actual game itself, and I just think it'll be really shitty about this. And I actually agree with you about the Dodgers because they do it too. You were right to call them out. because they pander a lot too, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah. Again, it's a difference. You speak from it because of your personal experiences. I can't speak on that, so it's a little bit different for me. But I like I said, I'll be interested to see what players said. They've been nothing but outspoken since George Floyd's death, murder. So I'm very glad that they're doing that. Hopefully they will continue to do it. MLB, I'm praying, does not do anything to silence them after this season. And if they do, I hope they go public with it. But we'll see.
Also, real fast, arrest the cops that murdered Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, that too. It's frustrating we're still even talking about that. With that said, I'm going to move into MLB news. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to kind of just run through this really quickly because we're already way over time. So last week, MLB went through the first round of coronavirus testing. They had results come back. 38 individuals tested positive, 31 players, 7 staff members. However, they had a ton of issues with it. So technically those numbers aren't really the final numbers. Multiple teams have had issues with testers not showing up or results taking too long to go back. Because of this, some teams had to delay their practices by a few days or even take tests themselves. I believe it was the Yankees. They had access to tests, and instead of waiting for an MLB tester to show up, they had their players take the test and sent it in instead. It is MLB's lab. MLB is trying to say it didn't work out well with FedEx. It was a holiday weekend, which, like, cool, I get it, but how long have we known about July 4th weekend coming up? Like, has this not been a thing for how many years, decades, said whatever? We've been celebrating July 4th for how long? MLB knew this was coming. They could have either brought players in 2 days later, or instead of saying, hey, we're going to send in tests on Wednesday, like hold off until the holiday weekend, start on Monday, maybe go to September 30th instead of September 27th and stop putting the players' health at risk just so you can get them out there sooner. Teams like the A's, Astros, Angels, Nationals, Giants, might have been more, all had to delay their practices a day or two. Players like Sean Doolittle and Chris Bryant have both come out publicly speaking about their frustrations and that they don't feel like there's enough being done. They felt like what MLB had told them would be much better than what's actually being done. Rich Hill made a great point yesterday. Clubhouse, staff, attendants, trainers, all stuff like that, they're only getting tested twice a week, which makes absolutely no sense because these are the people around the players every single day. Players are getting tested every other day. These employers are getting tested twice a week. So where is that gap that one day neither of those people is getting tested and you take potential? Like, if it was up to me, if you're not going to do every single day, you do every other day for players and every other day for staff, so that way you have testing every single day coming out of your facility. And if a staff member has it, you now know to check every single player that next day instead of having to wait 3 or 4 days to see if that staff member has it. It's just been horrible. MLB has been awful at this. They keep coming up with excuses as to why it doesn't work instead of just saying, hey, we screwed up. It was our fault. It was a mistake. We have to do better. It's just what they do. As of Sunday, MLB had still not sent the players the proper PPE, like N95 masks and gloves that they were supposed to. So players are showing up wearing cloth masks, which for some is probably a choice. They may not want to wear N95. But I'm sure there's players out there who wish they would have the gloves and the N95 masks and would make them feel a lot more safe. You have guys like Mike Trout and Buster Posey speaking out on potentially not playing this season because they don't feel safe. MLB's going to run into a big problem if you have the best player in baseball opt out, because at that point, nobody else can think that they're bigger than Mike Trout. And if Mike Trout opts out, everybody else will feel like they can. Mike Trout should opt out if he feels uncomfortable. He does not owe the league anything being the best player in baseball, especially with his first child coming on the way and what coronavirus is doing to pregnant women. So either way, I don't care what happens. I don't care what Mike Trout decides. If he wants to leave, totally fine by me. All I am saying is MLB needs to get their shit together, and they need to do it now because they're not keeping up with their end. They were so focused on money that they have fumbled this entire week. I really give them till like Friday or Saturday to have all of these tests back to teams. And if they're not, I think we're going to start seeing people drop out beginning next week, maybe the end of next week. The Dodgers have not had any issues as of yet, so that is good news there. But again, the entire league should not be having issues because this is serious and important, and it needs to be treated that way. With that said, there are a few players that have opted out this season, and those are Wellington Castillo, Ian Desmond, Felix Hernandez, Mike Leake, Nick Markakis, David Price, Joe Ross, Tyson Ross, and Ryan Zimmerman. I expect that list to grow. I would not be surprised if every single team has one or two guys that opt out. Dodgers already have our one guy. There could be more. So we'll see what happens. I don't really have much left to say, and that's really all I've got. Did you have anything to say before we finish this up?
Yeah, just real fast, the testing has definitely been problematic, to say the least. I'm not sure what the real story is, but MLB came out with their bullshit perspective on things. Clearly, I don't want to say a mistake, but I'm putting in air quotes, a mistake or miscalculations were made, which is pretty part of the course for MLB these days. If they want to prevent more players from opting out, then they really needed to get it together. But then again, maybe this was their plan all along. Maybe their plan is there would be no season, which apparently some owners wanted to begin with. It's incredibly frustrating to watch my favorite sport conduct itself this way. And if that is the case, if they do want the season to end, I'm gonna be forced to watch basketball that I don't really care about. I only have one of my favorite players playing, and I don't care about the Sixers enough so it does nothing for me. I'm guessing I'm going to have to do some deep dives into these draft prospects to pass the time.
Yep, but that part surprised me right there. I didn't know you had someone on the Sixers. That's my team. Nobody asked me why. It doesn't matter. All that matters is Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I know. You like Joel Embiid. I like his sidekick. I've been a big fan of Simmons.
I'm a big fan of Simmons, too. I like him a lot as well. But Embiid's my guy. He was there first. He's the guy that got me interested. But with that said, we've only got 15 more days from opening day. 2 weeks from tomorrow, the Dodgers will be playing the Giants. Hopefully, as long as there is still a season, they should be playing 2 weeks from tomorrow if MLB gets it together. But with that said, hope you guys have a great day. Great rest of your night, morning, whatever, when you listen to this. We appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Follow our social media at Dodger Yard. You can find me at Randy_Radcliffe.
And you can find me at Michael Konu.
And we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your whenever you listen to this. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.